How's it going? My name is Benjamin, and today I'm going to be telling you 10 essential questions that you need to be asking your sales consultants during your solar consultations. These are the questions they do not want to field, and I guarantee you they will save you thousands of dollars and hours of time and so many headaches down the road. Once again, just to tell you why I'm qualified to share this information with you, I've spent 5 years in the industry and I quickly became the top solar salesman in all of Texas. I also graduated from the University of Texas at Austin with a sustainability studies degree and a minor in energy management. I've seen every intricacy of the industry, and I want to help homeowners make sure that they get the best deal when they go solar. If you're just starting to look into solar, I recommend heading over to my website, www.thesolarinsiders.com, so you can get the crash course in Solar 101 and advanced solar intelligence courses. And my job is specifically to help you, the homeowner, make sure you don't fall into any of the pitfalls in the industry and end up with the best deal that's going to serve you and not the commission-based salesman. All right, so let's get right into it. Question number 1. What happens when I need to replace my roof? Are the solar panels easy to deinstall and reinstall? This is a question that you need to be asking because down the road, you might be faced with this situation where, due to a circumstance, you actually have to replace the roof. And by replacing the roof, you need to remove the panels. Now, homeowners typically don't think about this when they first get into solar, but this can be a significant cost that really impacts the return on investment down the road. This ranges between $300 to $500 per panel, depending on your installer. So it's really important to understand this cost. This typically means that you're looking about a $6,000 cost for a deinstall, reinstall when you have to go through this process. With this being said, one of the major pre-qualifying factors for someone to go solar is the age of the roof. We want to make sure that your roof is around 10 years old, because any older than that, we'll probably have to replace the roof during the lifetime of the panels, and we do not want to incur this deinstall, reinstall cost. So make sure that your roof is relatively new before you start looking into solar, and also understand the cost that comes along with the deinstallation and reinstallation process. But in the end, this really shouldn't be a prohibitive factor for you to want to install solar panels on your home. It's just something we need to be aware of when we're going into the process. Question number 2, can I add more panels to my installation in the future? This question is typically when we're looking to potentially purchase an electric vehicle, or we're adding maybe a hot tub or some other load that's going to be drawing more electricity than our solar panels are producing. And we want to make up for that by adding more panels to the system. So the first thing that we need to take into consideration is the available roof space that we still have after the initial installation. Most of the time, we're utilizing the best roof planes from the start because we want to optimize our solar production. Now, these roof planes are going to be facing south, east, and west, which is what yields the most solar energy in the northern hemisphere. So when we're adding more panels, we want to make sure that we're still installing panels on the available roof planes that are optimal and not going to roof planes that are facing north under any circumstances. The second thing that we should take into consideration is the panel integration. Sometimes technology simply evolves, or some businesses go under, and the available technology doesn't integrate with the system that you have. So we need to keep that in mind moving forward, which is why it's so important to select a panel that's been around on the market for a long time, because if you need to replace in the future, odds are it'll be around. And the last consideration is the actual inverter integration. Sometimes if you're using string inverters, they might be at capacity with the existing panels that are feeding into that specific inverter. So that's another cost that we might incur when we're adding panels to our existing installation. However, if we're using microinverter technology, we'll be good to go. It's really just a plug and play when you want to add more panels. And finally, all of this will require a new permitting process, so keep that in mind. It's really important to take into consideration future electricity consumption, whether your family's growing quickly, you expect a new family member to move into the home, or you want to purchase an EV in the near future. And at the Solar Insiders, we can help you account for that future electricity consumption based on your potential needs. Question number 3, will my panels work in the event of an outage? The answer is no. Your panels will not function in the event of an outage, and they will not be supplying any electricity into your home. This is one of the biggest surprises homeowners get when they first install panels and they go through their first power outage. Most of the time, this question is not asked during the consultations, and people get very frustrated when they don't know this information. And the reason is, your solar system is grid tied, which means it's actually one and the same with the grid, supplying energy directly into the grid. Now, if your solar panels were to be live during the event of an outage and a lineman were to go try and solve the issue, they could potentially get electrocuted. The only way to solve this is to include a battery with your system, which islands the home, effectively making it its own unit. And only in this situation will you be able to use the solar energy that you're producing directly to your battery, then to your home during the event of an outage. So this is a huge reason why a lot of homeowners do opt for a battery. With the technology continually advancing, it's a wonderful option. And at this point, if you ask this question to the salesman and they say yes, they just don't have your best interest in mind, and they honestly do not know what they're talking about, and I would not trust that company to select as your solar installer. And with all of these questions, you have the answers in the ebook, and that's why it's a wonderful resource, because you can really keep them honest and see who knows what they're talking about to select the right installer. Question number 4, what is my utilities net metering policy? We do have another video that talks all about net metering policies and the implications on the system sizes and the financial returns and benefits. And in that video, we go much further in depth into net metering. But for this video, you need to understand that net metering is the specific policy that is going to denote what value the utility is purchasing the electricity that you produce back. And that rate is so important for your financial return and the overall financial viability of going solar in your specific neighborhood and your specific utility. So there are a few different systems that we want to touch on very quickly. The first is the 1-to-1 retail rate of electricity buyback. This is where the utility is actually going to purchase the electricity back at the retail rate of electricity, which is clearly the most favorable system to be a part of. The second most common system that we see across the United States is purchasing the energy back at what's called the ACOE, or avoided cost of energy rate. And this is typically the wholesale rate of electricity being about 1/3 or 1/4 of the retail rate. Now, at a system like this, we do not want to be sending any electricity from our solar back to the grid, because we're really not getting a significant value from it, being 30 cents to the dollar. So with that being said, in this situation, most homeowners opt to add batteries to the system so they can charge them up during the daytime and then distribute that energy back to their home in the evening, where they would be purchasing at the retail rate of electricity. And another system that's catching popularity across the country is the time of use rate, which is very popular in California, where the cost of electricity varies throughout the day, as well as the credit that you're getting from the solar that you're sending back to the grid. So if you want to know what system your utility operates under, head over to the DSIRE database, and this website will tell you exactly what credit your utility is going to provide for the solar energy that you're sending back to the grid. But the main point to consider here is that a system sized in a 1-to-1 credit environment is going to be a different system sized in the avoided cost of energy or wholesale rate environment. And this is what we specialize in at the Solar Insider. So make sure to reach out and we can have a conversation where we take a look at your bill, the net metering environment that you're in, and design an unbiased system that will work for you and offer the best financial returns over the long run. Question number 5 could be the single most important question that you should be asking during this process. And this question is piggybacking off of the last concept that we just talked about. So here it is. Question number 5. What is the rate at which excess generation is credited, and how does it apply to my future bills? Could changes in the net metering policy affect the future value of these credits? All right, so picture this. You sized a system in 2018 that was going to offset 100% of your electricity consumption, and you were operating in an environment where the utility was purchasing your solar energy back at a 1-to-1 credit at the retail cost of electricity. Now, fast forward to 2024, this utility has decided it is going to change the rate at which it credits your solar energy and what they're going to purchase it back from you for. Now, this rate is typically 70% less than what they were paying you just a couple months ago. This changes the entire equation and is something that we really need to be taking into consideration as we're trying to find our footing in this industry of what the true value of solar is for the utilities. Now, what this question will do is it will really see if the salesperson has your best interests in mind. If they're trying to tell you that the regulatory environment doesn't change and that this is how it will be for the next 20, 25 years, they simply don't have your best interests in mind and they don't know what's truly happening in the industry. To be completely protected, it's best to offset your daytime use and add some batteries so you can compensate into the nighttime with discharging that electricity that you've stored during the day. And there are some more mature markets where the dust has kind of settled and the conversation is much further along, but in most environments, the utilities have complete leeway to change what they pay you back for that electricity or the value that they place on it. Here's a great example. Pedernales Electric Cooperative in Texas was paying a 1-to-1 retail rate of electricity, and then all of a sudden, the committee changed the rate at which they were purchasing the electricity back from their solar customers. And this completely changed the return on investment, often increasing the ROI 2 to 3 times, because that value that they were getting from the credits and from the energy that they were sending back was 70% less than they had originally anticipated and calculated their return on investment. So if anything, let's have a conversation about this. Definitely reach out to me and I'll share some more instances of where this has happened and how we plan to combat this and for you to get the best value for your home when you decide to go solar. And with that being said, this is definitely not a reason to avoid adopting solar as your energy source for your home. It's just something we need to be aware of, and definitely a question that we can ask our salesperson to see if it's a good company or one that has your best interest in mind. All right, let's move on to question number 6, which I think is another incredible question to be asking. It's one of the biggest areas in the industry that has been manipulated and really led consumers down the wrong path of understanding the financial benefit of solar. So this question is one you need to be asking in every single consultation to see if someone's trying to be a snake, to see if someone's trying to really misrepresent the benefit of solar. And by asking this question, we're gonna be able to level the playing field and really understand the financial benefit that we can expect down the road. So here it is, question number 6. What is the modeled future price increase of electricity in your savings calculations? So when you're talking to a salesperson, the pitch behind solar is essentially what you would have paid for electricity in the future compared to what you can lock it in for at the current rate. Typically, you're financing that, you're replacing your energy bill with a monthly financed cost that is going to be your new energy bill, essentially because the solar power is going to be powering your home rather than the energy coming from the grid. Where this starts to get misleading is the modeled percent of inflation for the electricity cost down the road. For example, if the inflation rate that the salesperson is showing you is 6 to 8%, you're probably going to be looking to save hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of the 25 years. Since that 6 to 8% is showing you a dramatic increase of electricity relative to what the realistic expectation actually is. And this can make solar look like the best investment in the world, when in reality, the numbers are significantly misleading. So the average increase year over year across the 50 states is about 2.36%. And that's taken directly from data from the Department of Energy. Now, there are some states that have periods of significant inflation on the electricity cost, specifically in South Carolina, where 2 nuclear power plants have recently gone under. Billions of dollars are going to be put back onto the customer base of the utility. And in that case, where you're seeing 10, 15, 20% increase year over year of electricity costs, it's probably a really good idea to look into solar. But we want to make sure that these calculations that the salesmen are making and showing you are true. So when you're in these consultations, make sure to ask what the inflation rate they have set on the future predicted price of electricity, because that is really where you're going to see how much money you're really going to save from this investment and how you can calculate your internal rate of return on this investment. So we have a wonderful calculator at the Solar Insider that I'd love to provide to you. You can take a look at the different financing rates, the different projected costs of electricity down the road, and you can play around with it. But the main takeaway here is that to really get a realistic understanding of how much money you stand to save, I would ask the salesperson to model the future price of electricity, the inflation rate that is, around 3%. I think that's a pretty fair assessment when homeowners are looking into the financial benefit of solar with their specific cost of electricity and the future predicted cost of electricity down the road. And to be completely honest, the environment that we're going into with the advancement of AI and how much energy machine learning and artificial intelligence is set to consume, it wouldn't surprise me if that rate was closer to 4%, maybe even 5% in the years to come. But to get a realistic understanding of the financial benefit, make sure to ask that they set the inflation rate on electricity to around 3% per year. Question number 7, could potentially save you tens of thousands of dollars. So let's get right into it. Question number 7. Can I get a quote for the bottom line cash price, 25-year and 20-year loan options? All right, let's just put it right out on the table. There has been some really shady stuff going on with solar loans out there in the industry, and it's best to just really understand the intricacies of what's going on here. If you ever see a quote in today's environment that's offering a 2.99 interest rate where we're operating about 5 to 6% with today's Fed funds rate, you have to start to wonder, how are these solar loan companies offering such competitive rates in an industry that's still growing and relatively young? Well, the answer is most of that interest is actually front loaded onto the loan when you go into one of these solar loans. And this is one of the biggest secrets of the industry, and one that people are probably going to say, Ben, take this video down, but I'm here to help you and I want you to get the best deal when going solar. So here's how you can figure out what the markup is on the loan. The first thing you want to do is always go in as a cash buyer. We want to present to the solar salesman that we are a cash buyer. We're going to get the lowest cost of solar, or at least we're going to be able to understand what the basic cost of solar is. Now from there, we can then ask for the loan options. And the delta between the cash price and the loan options is going to be the dealer fee or the front-loaded interest that's added on to that cash price. So when we're going into the consultations, we are always cash buyers. And then we're going to ask to see the financing options. But typically, my professional recommendation is to never finance with any of these solar loan companies, being Sunlight Financial or Mosaic, because most of them are actually going under and the interest rates are significant. The best way to finance solar is through a home equity line of credit. I'll go into this in another video, but you need to understand that you can purchase the solar system in cash, finance it through your local credit union, through a home equity line of credit, and that is how you're going to get the best financial return on your solar investment. You can ask anybody in the industry, that is the single best way to purchase solar. Question number 8, do you offer any alternative financing options? Now, sometimes a solar company will actually have a relationship with a local credit union, which is wonderful. There's also PACE financing, which is a government funded program. So definitely take a look and ask if there's any other opportunities out there for you to finance your solar system. This question is piggybacking off of the last one, but this is really where you're going to see the major savings, is finding the best way to pay for the system, to finance the system, because we do not want to be paying those dealer fees, that front-loaded interest. We really want to be buying the system cash, or we want to be financing it through a home equity line of credit. And as a last resort, we're going to take a look at the financing options from the solar companies. Question number 9 is another phenomenal question that's going to include a very unique clause into your contract that could save you thousands of dollars over the lifetime of the system. And we need to make this clause more popular. We need to make it into every single solar contract, because this is how we hold our solar company, our solar installer accountable throughout the lifetime of the system. Question number 9. Do you provide a production guarantee for lost production when my panels aren't operating properly to reach my yearly production goals? People are probably going to come after me on this one too, but a production guarantee is something that all solar companies should be giving to their customers when they go solar. So here's what a production guarantee is. In the consultations, your solar salesperson is going to show you a projected production of electricity that your system should yield on a year-to-year basis. Let's call it 10,000 kilowatt hours. What a production guarantee does is it acts as your insurance from the company that you're actually going to reach that. So for example, if your system were to be down for a month or two, while the solar company should be fixing the problem, maybe replacing the microinverter, replacing the string inverter, replacing a few panels, they're going to pay you for the lost production up to what they guaranteed, or up to what they pitched you in the consultation. This is what's called a production guarantee. Another example, if they say you're going to produce 10,000 kilowatt hours by the end of year 1 and you only produce 9,000 kilowatt hours, clearly they didn't do a calculation correctly. But that should not be to your detriment. They should be taking the responsibility to make sure that what they're telling you that your system is going to produce is accurate. And this is what's called a production guarantee. So at the end of year 1, if you're 1,000 kilowatt hours short, they will cut you a check and make sure that your system is producing, or at least you're compensated for the amount of kilowatt hours that your system didn't produce in that given year. So do not go solar without a production guarantee. Let's make a production guarantee a normalized clause in this industry, because this is something that's going to protect you over the lifetime of the system and something that should be normalized within this industry. All right, the last question here is about the tax credit. Question number 10. Is the solar investment tax credit a lump sum payment? No. The investment tax credit is not a lump sum payment. It is a credit against your federal tax liability. We can go into this in another video where we break down the intricacies of the tax credit, but what you need to know is this is not a refund. This is not a check that is simply going to come to your doorstep. The federal tax credit is that. It's a credit against your federal tax liability. So if you spent $10,000 on your solar system and the investment tax credit is $3,000 and you have a $3,000 federal tax liability, you can use that credit to offset the federal tax liability, and essentially you do not have to pay that $3,000 tax liability that you would have if you didn't install solar. And another key point here is that most of the time, the money that you saved from this tax credit, the solar loan companies expect that you take that cash and put it back into the loan to lower the overall cost of your monthly payment. But just know that the solar tax credit is just that. It's a credit, not a refund, not a direct payment. So if anybody tries to tell you otherwise, they do not know what they're talking about. So once again, these are 10 essential questions that you should be asking your solar installer, your solar salesperson during consultations. So I'm happy to have been able to go over these with you, and I recommend you download the free sample, 30 Essential Questions When Going Solar, so you have this resource. And if you'd like, you can purchase the rest of the ebook for $19.99. It helps me continue to help homeowners go solar, and it is loaded with additional questions, 20 more questions that are designed to keep your solar investment safe, to keep the salesman honest. And I guarantee you, these questions are going to save you thousands of dollars and hours of headaches and really protect your solar investment. These are the questions that the solar consultants do not want to be asked. These are the little secrets that I'm sharing with you after 5 years in the industry and understanding where homeowners go wrong and what I've seen in the industry. So I highly recommend you take a look at that resource. It's linked right above. And with these questions, you will be good to go. Additional services here at the Solar Insider include our white glove service, where I will go out and source 5 quotes for you. It's completely comprehensive, and I'll be with you every step of the way, from teaching you about solar all the way to the contract signature, making sure we have all the important clauses, making sure that you get a system that serves you in your net metering environment, specifically designed with your utility in mind, and we are going to get you the best deal. In this situation, you really don't have to move a finger. It saves you hours of time and a lot of headache as well. However, if you want to go out and collect quotes yourself, I'm still here for you. I offer debrief consultations where we can discuss the intricacies of the companies that you've discussed with, the system designs. We can go into the technology, the financial projections, and really make sure that what they're telling you is accurate. So I am your solar insider. I'm here to make sure that you're getting the best deal in the market and that you're completely protected, so we can clean up this industry and make sure that homeowners in the future adopt solar energy and adopt it in a safe manner and a manner that really works for them. So take a look at some of the resources on our website, schedule a free consultation, and join some of my live Q&A webinars where I'll be answering your questions on a daily basis. Simply tap in and let's have a conversation. Once again, my name is Benjamin. Thanks for joining me today. I'm really excited for you to use these questions and see the face of the salesman when you do pose them, and rest assured that you will be protected when you ask all 30 of these questions.